Welcome to lesson 16. This is the last lesson in this module. Here, we'll be looking at formula mix and match. Assuming we have two lists of items, we can compare them to see which items are common between them and which are unique. Let's first look at how we can get the common items in our list. First, we'll open the conditional formatting pane on the right of the screen, and using the single color option, set C1 to C9 as our range. We then click on the formatting rule and select Custom Formula Is. For this example, we will use the match function which we learnt in lesson 12. The formula will be as follows. We will use the individual items in our second list as the search key, starting from C1. We will then pass the first list, that is from A1 to A5, as our range and make the reference absolute. We want the exact match, so we'll use 0 as the search type. This will highlight the common items with the chosen color. Now, let's look at the inverse of what we just did, that is, getting the unique list. Just like we did for the common list, we first open the conditional formatting pane and select C1 to C9 as our range. We then click on the formatting rule and select Custom Formula Is. We'll use the same formula we used for the previous example, but this time we will include the match function within an isNA function. This will highlight the unique items with the chosen color. When working with a large spreadsheet, you may want to know the last value in the column without having to scroll all the way to the bottom of the sheet. There are a couple of formulas you can use to do this in Google Sheets. In this example, we will see how to do just that. One way that we can get the last value in our column is with the combination of the index and count A functions. The index function returns the content of a cell at a specified location. The count A function counts the number of values in a data set, so you can count the number of cells with content and then use that count inside the index function to return the last cell in a column with a value. The drawback of this method is that it only works if your column has no blank entries in it. If there's a cell that is blank, the count A will not count that value, so your index will be off. The formula used is as follows. Here, we type A:A, representing the whole of column A, as our reference. And for the row, we use the value returned by the count A function. This returns orange, which is the last item in column A. We use the same formula in column C, which is the second list, and it returns green. But this is wrong, and it's because we have a blank cell in that column. We can solve this by making a couple of changes to our formula and using the filter function. We can create a filter to ignore blank cells in our formula. The formula will now become this. Here, we have set a filter function inside our index and count A functions that will remove blank cells. We did not cover the filter function in this module, so we'll talk about it briefly. The syntax for the filter function is as follows. It returns the filtered version of a range by returning only rows or columns that meet some criteria. The first argument is the range to filter, and the second and subsequent arguments are the conditions to be met. In this case, we are using the comparison operator not equal to return cells that are not blank. There is no direct formula to get the word count in Google Sheets, but you can easily get it by using a combination of a few functions. In this example, we'll look at how to count the total number of words in a cell using the count A and split functions. The formula used is as follows. Here, we nested the split function within count A. The split function has the following syntax and is used to divide text around a specified character or string, putting each fragment in a separate cell in the row. The first argument is the text to divide. The second is the character or characters to use in splitting the text. The third indicates whether or not to divide text around each character contained in the delimiter argument. And the fourth indicates whether or not to remove empty text messages from the split results. In our example, since words are separated by spaces, we set space enclosed in double quotes as our delimiter. There are multiple options for extracting the username from an email address in Google Sheets. Here, we'll look at two of these options. First, we use the regex replace function, and later a combination of the left and find functions. An email address has three parts: the username, the @ symbol, and the user domain. In both functions, we will consider the second part of the email address, that is, the @ symbol. In the first example, we replace the domain and @ with space. The formula used is as shown. Regex replace replaces part of a text string with a different text string using regular expressions. This is a complex function, and it was used to demonstrate how mixing the simpler functions can help you achieve the same results as with the more complex ones. In our second example, we will combine the left and find functions as an alternative to regex replace. The formula is as follows. The find function is nested within left. Basically, the formula locates the @ symbol and extracts the text up to that point. We subtract 1 to ensure that the @ symbol itself is not included in the results. With the help of functions, we can easily, well, relatively easily, list the first Monday of each month in a date range, or the last Sunday, or whatever day we would like. We'll use the date and weekday functions nested within the array formula function for this. Now, we want to display the first Monday of each month. In the formula we used, the first date function will generate a list of dates for the 7th of each month. We will type 2022 as our year argument. The month argument contains an array of values from 1 to 12, 1 for each month. We will type 1 to 12 separated by semicolons to include all the months. We then type 7 as our day argument. This returns the date for the 7th day of every month. Next, we find the weekday number of the last day of the previous month for each month. We do this by generating a list of dates for the first of each month, using the date function once again, and subtracting 1 day, giving us the last day of the previous month. Finally, we subtract the last day of the previous month from the 7th day of each month to obtain the first Monday. That concludes our discussion on Sheets functions. I encourage you to practice regularly, and if you need to, refer to the material anytime to refresh your memory. Note also that these are not all of the functions, as there are a lot of more functions available to be used for countless specific tasks. The functions covered here are the most commonly used and would probably be all you ever need. Move on to the next module to continue with your training.